Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel, and we're going to take a look at the astrological weather forecast for the week ahead, that being the week of September 7th through the 13th. Main thing going on this week, there's three things. The main two things are two of the planets changing direction, which I've touched on in the monthly forecast last week. And the first one is Mars, and that is changing direction and going to go retrograde on Wednesday. So I've talked about this whole Mars cycle through Aries several times in the last month or two, and how it's a real big part of what's going to go on this autumn, this fall, in the northern hemisphere, spring in the southern hemisphere. And Mars, when it goes retrograde, I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with the effects of Mercury retrograde. And for me, my experience with Mars retrograde is, it's a very tough time for us, because Mars really is all about the actions that we normally take. And when it goes retrograde, those actions just really don't work out the way we want. In fact, what I have found out many times when Mars goes retrograde is it's almost impossible to move forward. Like, it seems like your actions, you can take them, but it's almost like, as far as getting to where you want to go, it's almost pointless. Like, it just doesn't seem to happen the way you would expect it to on any manner. So, which is similar to Mercury retrograde in many ways, but the thing about the Mars retrograde is it's a lot longer. It's about a 2-month period rather than a 3-week period. And like I said, it's involved with the squares to Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, so that makes it extra difficult. But ultimately, what we're feeling is that our individual ability to act like we normally would is just being blocked in some way. So with Mars in Aries, where it's really strong, where it rules that sign, what we're looking at is, to me, like, Mars in Aries. Like, why is Mars strong in Aries? Because Mars is just like the sun. It's all about us as individuals. It's our ego, it's our pride, it's the things that we are personally really into. So therefore, it's really important stuff to us on a very subjective level. And so when Mars is in Aries, it will fight for the right to be who it is, who we are. And so that Mars is the warrior archetype in itself, and when it's in Aries, that's when it's strongest in that warrior archetype, when the individual is going out and doing what they feel like is the right thing to do, like fighting their way through life, so to speak, like as an adventure. It doesn't always have to be like a negative kind of experience, that's for sure. But what I'm thinking is the Mars in retrograde in Aries is going to like have us feel like a lot of like internal irritability and anger and impatience with what is blocking us, or what we perceive as blocking us. And that I would not be surprised if it's a time period of some really odd, like, individual acts, like kind of like lone wolf kind of acts, like, for instance, a good example is like, right now there's a lot of protests going on in a lot of different countries in the world, and what we're seeing is that, like, because there's like a degree of lawlessness involved in that, we're seeing like individuals trying to like basically act within that situation and take advantage of it. and their anger and their resentment and irritability and impatience with being blocked is being manifested in these individual actions that in many cases are violent. So, that's what I think is really going to happen is in the real world, a lot of our normal actions will be blocked, which we have been having happen to all of us all year because of the pandemic, because of other, things related to that, things in society kind of not functioning the way we're used to seeing them function. So I think this is going to be a time where a lot of people are really fed up with that and feeling that really inside deeply, and they're really the efforts to move forward that you may make may be a lot of wasted energy. You may really want to contemplate what is worth acting upon or not in the next couple months, but it really is a separating kind of energy. So it's not going to be an easy energy to deal with. Now also on Wednesday, when that's when Mars goes retrograde, and it will remain retrograde till early mid-November, and we'll make all those second hits to the squares in Capricorn planets. So that's going to be some really challenging times ahead. But that same day, the Sun is trine Jupiter, which is interesting. I mean, normally that's one of the most beneficial short-term aspects. But Jupiter's really weak right now in Capricorn, although it is stationing direct on Saturday, so that gives it some strength. And normally, this is really good energy to use in the sense of dealing with groups, putting your standards and ideals into action, like seeing a big picture really well and how your standards and ideals can fit into that big picture, that big pattern, and then being able to get help from others. And it's a time when we can get a lot of help from authorities too, where they will actually be a lending, helping hand in the situation. Now, unfortunately, because of all the negative or more intense energy, Sun Jupiter's like a really passive energy together, and the trine makes it even more passive. So the tendency is to kind of just relax and enjoy life rather than use it to push stuff. So I think due to Jupiter's weakness in Capricorn and a lot of the other intense energy going on, like Mars going retrograde, probably on a larger scale, this energy isn't going to do much. But for a day or two or three, we can use it to organize and plan, work with others, work with authorities, and get some benefit out of that. Okay, now the other big thing going on this week is Neptune. It's the annual opposition of the Sun to Neptune. So the Sun's in Virgo right now, and Neptune is in Pisces, where it has been for several years now and will continue to be for several more years. And Neptune very strong in Pisces. It's the energy that Neptune is most similar to in the zodiac. So it has a lot of affinity with that Piscean energy. But here it is opposite the Sun in Virgo. And to top that off, the exact opposition's Friday, but on Thursday, the Moon in Gemini is going to be doing its last quarter square to the Sun in Virgo, and therefore form a T-square with that opposition, which is a very tense kind of aspect. There's a lot of challenge and crisis and energy building up that needs to be let go. But what's interesting about this is a mutable T-square too, which means that we have to think on our feet to react to things. You're gonna have to there's gonna be constantly adjusting or changing situations that we have to kind of think on our feet and react to. But what's interesting really, let's talk about the Sun Neptune opposition, because that's really the key thing here in this week. So once a year we get the Sun Neptune opposition, and it is a time usually of like really hard time to make solid decisions. So like indecisiveness is one of the biggest energies that will come in from this, where you're just not clear what to do. It's there's not a clear path ahead as far as practical, concrete, physical reality. So like there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of like confusion, there's a lot of like when being confronted with tough energy to kind of like run away from it instead, like run away from the decision making process to escape, basically. The Sun Neptune, the thing is, see, the Sun is, you know, the solid part. That's us, like our motivation, our journey, our life, and what we want to do. So it's a solid energy usually, but Neptune comes in and really diffuses that energy. It diffuses ego, it diffuses the self. And so therefore it's really foreign energy for the Sun to deal with, because it's not all about itself. So that's where it's like a lot of confusion and misunderstanding can go on. And then when it's an opposition too, we have to be really careful in our one-on-one relationships on all levels with others, because not only is there misunderstanding going on, but there might be actually even intentional deception, misleading kind of energy. And because the energy is not one of a solid kind of me energy, people don't like, you know, instead of like confronting the issue, they sweep it under the rug, or they deny it, they run away from it, they use different forms of escapism to get away from it. So that energy is very prevalent, and what that actually puts you in when you start making decisions like that is like the perfect follower, victim of others who are in control of your energy, and you can fall into like just following other people or things in a way that's not really solid in the way you're dealing with reality, and you're allowing that to happen by not confronting that reality, but kind of sweeping it under the rug. So it's really easy to be misled during that. So I do not recommend any serious decision making, any business deals or negotiations that are serious. No, it's just not the time to do it, because you don't have all the facts. There may even be secrets being held back from you so that you don't know all the information and don't make the best choice for yourself. And and literally there literally can be outright intentional deception going on. So just not a good time. Now, if the Sun Neptune makes us very receptive to energy, so we're really sensitive on a psychic level to the people around us, the environment we're in, the surroundings we're in. So if you have two open, honest people dealing with one another, and it's just not even two, it can be larger than that too, but like, just that you other relationship thing going on. If you have that openness and the honesty is there, it's a great blending energy. Kind of what some people would call, quote, soulmates, unquote. I think we're all soulmates, probably. Anyway, if people can maintain that level of openness and receptivity, that can really be a great blending of energy, a beautiful, beautiful energy with Sun Neptune opposition. All right, last two things was, like I said, Jupiter's going direct, and that will be on Saturday. So basically stationary all week, which pushes Jupiter's energy, but Jupiter's in a really weak position. So once again, I think unfortunately we'll see expanding energy from Jupiter as it's like, in that strong position, but we'll also it just doesn't have the power that it normally has. But I'll tell you one thing, once it starts moving forward, it is just going to be wanting a high end at a Capricorn and get to Aquarius as soon as it can, which unfortunately is not until January. So that's part of the, this tough autumn or next few months that we're going to see is going to continue there. But we should see, certain things with law and medicine and higher education and travel start to open up a little bit more than it has been the last few months. So I think, certain places and areas and things, you may see things start moving more forward direction in society again. Okay, and then also on Saturday, the last thing I wanted to mention was Mercury is quincunx Uranus on Saturday. So that's a really bumpy aspect. And what it is it's literally nervous tension. It's like so much input coming in that it just your nerves are just tattered and the mind just jumping from one thing to another, and it can really get a lot of brilliant insights, especially through technology and science and things like that. But it's really jumpy energy, and it's hard to basically even sit still, and the mind just cannot stay focused very well. And the nervous system, our nervous systems may feel like a lot of edginess. So if you do anything to calm your nervous system, any herbs or exercises or things like that, next weekend will be a time when you may need to really, work on keeping your nerves calm. So that's the main things going on this week. If you go outside about 9 or 10 o'clock at night right now and look to the eastern horizon, Mars is coming up, and it is a red shining ball, that red ball of anger and just wanting to move forward, but I'm stuck. And then if you look straight up overhead, so Mars is on the horizon here, and then you go straight up overhead to the midheaven, the MC, you'll see that bright Jupiter up there. That's that, and it's going to be super bright right now, especially with it stationing. And literally right to the left of it, probably just a couple fingers, if you held them up, you'll see another planet, that's Saturn. So if you look, Saturn's right on the midheaven, Mars is right on the horizon, and there's the square between Mars and Saturn. 90 degrees between Mars on the horizon, Saturn up here. So you can actually stand under that Mars-Saturn square right now and feel that energy, and it's a blocked energy. It is a blocked energy, and it feels intense. But like I said, this is like an endurance test, Mars-Saturn. It's that one step at a time, doing that climb up the mountain. And if you get up really early, and it's starting to be easier now because we're getting, the hours are getting cut shorter and shorter. So if you're up before dawn, Venus is the bright light in the eastern sky, and it's pretty high in the horizon right now. It's pretty far up, probably about 40 degrees maybe or something. So it's up there, but a good chance to see some of the planets in action and just really feel that Mars-Saturn energy. And it's hard to work with that energy. It's not necessarily a good feeling, so you can really get a good especially with the Sun Neptune too, that really makes us receptive to subtle energy. So it can really get a feeling for that. All right. I am available for all kinds of readings. My email is mattue823@gmail.com. Please become a follower of the program on the YouTube channel, and turn your notifications on, and you'll know when I post these. I do try to social media bomb people every week, and I'll tell you, sometimes I get only 30 people, sometimes I get 200 people, so it's like I can't exactly rely. I mean, we could start an email list, that same email I gave you, if you want me to put you on an email list, and I can send out a group email to let people know. And then the other thing is please share the blog. I'm getting a lot of good reactions, people interested in knowing more, deeper astrology, lesson type stuff. So I try to work on something on that and get something on my website, get my website back up. I'm redoing it right now, and maybe have some options to get into deeper astrology lessons for a small fee. So I will try to get on that over the next few months. And in the meantime, if you need a reading, email me. I can work with you, whatever your budget is. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel, and I am going to sign off. Next week we'll look at the weekly astrology for next week again. And I think we have, what do we have coming up next week? I think we have a new moon, don't we? I think we have a new moon in Virgo coming up next week. And remember, Virgo time, this is the time, guys, to get on your health, your physical health. If you're not in rhythm with your body right now, and a lot of us may be out of rhythm because of sitting at home for months, your health is going to suffer. And Virgo's the time to pay attention. Get that health, hygiene, whatever it is, exercise, diet, whatever it is, this is the time to get on it. If you're not paying attention to what your body's saying to you, you're going to pay the price later. This is that time of the year to do that. All right, until next week, namaste.